Chapter 2 of Annie Proulx's novel Postcards, Mink's Revenge. Mink, panting in unsatisfied rage, limped through the house, throwing down Loyal's things. A model airplane impaled on a nail in the front hall. School photos in warped folders edged with gold. Loyal, the only one in his class with wavy hair, handsome, standing in the crowd of frames and button boxes on the pie crust cherry table in the front room. The 4-H ribbons, red, white, and blue, for calves, pasted on a piece of propped cardboard. The high school diploma with its black pointed letters proving Loyal had completed courses in agriculture and agronomy and manual training. The dairy management book from his single year at the agricultural school, dark and heavy. The certificate for pasture improvement, a newspaper clipping with a photo of Mr. Fuller, the county agent, handing the certificate to Loyal. All these things he threw on the floor. He crammed Loyal's barn coat into the kitchen stove, scraped the untouched food on his plate in after it. Smoke swelled out of 100 stove cracks and eddied along the ceiling before curling into the stream of warm air and pouring out through the smashed window. Dub fumbled behind the pantry door for cardboard to tack over the window, and Jewel, her face red and her eyes narrowed to slits, juggled the stove damper. A roaring came from the stovepipe as the creosote in the bend of the elbow caught and heated the stinking metal to a dull red. "Christ, Ma, you're working on a chimney fire. Damper the goddamn thing down," shouted Dub. Here came Mink now, cool now, but with vicious eyes, coming downstairs with Loyal's 30-30, limping through the kitchen, leaving the door open. Dub guessed the old man would throw it in the pond. Later he could drag through the mud with a potato fork and maybe get lucky. Probably take a day of cleaning and oiling to get it back into shape, but it was a good rifle and worth the trouble. Laid across the windowsill of the hayloft, he could shoot it, get his deer like anybody else, even missing an arm. He pieced and tacked cardboard boxes to the window frame, holding the cardboard in place with his left knee while he hammered. "I'll cut some glass, put it in tomorrow if someone will give me a hand putting in the points." But he was pale. Jewel swept up the curving slivers, putty chunks, and dust, stoutly bending over her print dress, riding up, exposing the ribbed cotton stockings, the flesh-colored slip from Montgomery Ward. "There's glass in the food, Ma. There's glass all over the table," said Murnell. "There's big pieces on the porch, too. You can start by scraping the plates and don't put it in the pig pail. Have to take it out and heave it. I don't know about the hens if they'd pick up the glass, but I suppose they would. Heave it out back of the garden." There was a slamming sound of a shot from the barn. Then another. And after a long interval, a third. The cows were bawling like alligators. Flat roars, stamping, rattling their stanchions. They could hear Father Abraham's bellow among all the others. "That's a hell of a thing to do," said Dub. "That's a hell of a thing to do." Jewel shuddered, her fingers across her mouth, watched Dub go out to the entry, jerk his coat off the nail, back through the kitchen to the woodshed door. "Be careful," she said, hoping he knew what he should be careful about. Murnell started to snivel, not over the cows, but because of Mink's rage that was spurting out of him like jets of water from a kinked hose. He could chop all of them with an axe. "Get hold of yourself and go to bed," said Jewel, gathering the plates from the table. "Go on now, I got enough trouble without you blubbering." She was sitting at the table when Mink came in, saw how a little burst of grayed hairs had grown on his cheek since morning. He threw the rifle on top of the cupboard without cleaning it and sat across from her. His hands were steady. The streaked hair stuck out from under his cap, the bill like a menacing horn over his eyes. "By God, that's 2 of them we don't have to milk." There were fine drops of blood across the front of his overalls.